This fresh coat of the startup life has been sprayed on nice and smooth by Wagner and the Flexio Series of paint sprayers. Startup Nation, my wife decided she wanted to rehab her childhood home. The goal was to fix it up and invite a nice family to rent it out. We knew one of the biggest jobs we had to undertake was painting. However, from the walls, the cabinets, and even the siding outside, it was going to be a big task. As entrepreneurs with a company to run, we knew this was going to take up a lot of our time, which is why we decided to get a paint sprayer. And after much research, we decided to go with the sprayer from the Flexio Series from Wagner. Startup Nation, these sprayers are top-notch because of its flexibility to paint or stain walls, furniture, cabinets, and more. It's 10 times faster than using a paintbrush, which was a big selling point for us. And you can paint or stain right from the can. It's also easy to clean in 5 minutes, and being great for indoor and outdoor projects, a paint sprayer from the Flexio series clearly needs to be part of the arsenal in your garage. So if you're ready to stain your deck, or like me, fill your daughter's request of a bubblegum pink room, up your game with a paint sprayer from the Flexio series by Wagner. Take it from me, your time will thank you.
It's time to be about that life, the startup life. Here's your host, Dominic Lawson.
All right, Startup Nation, so I hope you're ready to receive some value today. My name is Dominic Lawson, and this is The Startup Life, the show for entrepreneurs and career-minded professionals. You know, Startup Nation, with everything going on, you know, sometimes it's just important to just kind of sit back, take a load off, and just really just kind of enjoy your time, right? And sometimes we may want to have a nice beverage when we enjoy our time, which is why we have a great founder for you today here on the show. He is the founder of Besa Mi Vino. We have Mike Radnia. Big Mike, what's up, man?
Hey, Dominic, thanks for having me, brother.
No worries.
I'm excited about this.
I hear that. I'm glad you're excited, man. Looks like we're going to have some great energy for some content today, man. Are you ready to pour some knowledge in the Startup Nation today? Because I've been doing some research, man. Looks like you got a lot to kind of share with us.
I'm ready. I want to get everyone tipsy by the end of this.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. So first things first, man, let's start with your origin story. Just kind of share with us your background a little bit.
Yeah. So my name is Michael Radnia. I'm 26 years old, born and raised in Los Angeles. This is my hometown. I've been a native here for the last 26 years. I went to school in Boston University for 4 years. I traveled to Shanghai for almost 5 months on myself. And from there, I came home and I realized that I did not like my job. So I started Besa.
Gotcha. Thank you for sharing that. Tell me about your time in Shanghai, man.
Yeah, so I was in Shanghai for a broad experience for about like 3 months. Mm-hmm. And I went there just, really just to learn new cultures. And I went there by myself. And after about, 2 months in, I'm like, I can't leave here. I need to stay here longer just because it was just so amazing to see a new culture that I haven't really been acquainted with before.
Gotcha.
Given just like, it's just a new surface going on there with just the people, the culture, how the exchange of languages, and how within like 3 months I almost became like fluent in Shanghai Mandarin
right
at the time. And because a lot of people there don't really speak English, so you kind of like have to learn, and you're in the culture every day, and you end up picking up the language pretty well.
Gotcha.
So now I lost it though because I have no one to practice it with.
Right. That makes sense. That makes complete sense. Thank you for sharing that, man. So look, obviously we're all kind of, quarantining, social distancing and stuff like that. What has, the past couple of weeks looked for you in your business, man? Like, because I imagine, you probably went through a few changes, a few pivots, if you will, right?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah. Kind of share with me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so obviously what we do is we sell wine. Our
right.
business is selling a better for you wine. So all our products are organic. Mm-hmm. They have low in sulfite. They have no sugar, and they're vegan. So we don't use any animal byproducts when we refine the wines. And what was really interesting when we first started the company is that our whole direction was to work in distribution on and off premises, meaning that in like restaurants, bars, grocery stores, which is the model we always saw the business going into.
Right.
We launched the company May 1st, 2019. And since then, we're in almost like, over 200, 250 stores. Anyone, all local markets around us, actually distribute mostly in California.
Gotcha.
And since March, since COVID hit, I'd say about 60% of our business was cut because a lot of bars, restaurants that we were working into, all had to, pause their business. And not only that, we just couldn't grow because we couldn't build our account list.
Right.
But fortunately for us, we had an online shop that we barely ever used. Like we never got any sales from it. It was never a focus for us.
Gotcha.
We always wanted to build a brand on a distribution level, and then eventually have, once people try the products, be able to taste it and then purchase the products online if they liked it, or just go back to the grocery store, making like a really organic process for them.
For sure.
And since COVID hit, we just seen a ton, just out of nowhere, just a boom in sales of people purchasing our products online, very organically, and us not doing any marketing around it, which is really interesting. So since then, our whole budget has changed as far as just, instead of dumping money into like supporting our retailers, we're just, now we pivoted our budget into digital ads and copies and different videos and really engaging with the customer on a digital level. So we kind of like pivoted from being a wholesale wine company to a DTC wine brand.
Right.
So now we're doing about, again, we did nothing in sales. Now we're doing about like 10 to 12 sales a day.
Wow.
And we're just continuously growing the brand on that platform. Meanwhile, as things are starting to normalize, we're seeing a lot of our accounts open up, and we just got into our first chain account, which is a Safeway store in Northern California. Yeah, right. Exciting stuff. So it's really hard to juggle because you're trying to figure out, are we going the DTC direction, or are we going to continue going through our wholesale distribution?
Absolutely.
And now we've kind of like merged both of them in one.
Right.
As we're starting to grow with everything going on. But it definitely opened up a new form of business that I never really believed in or saw before.
And Mike, I'm glad you said that, man, because like we're starting to see, we've had multiple people come on the show, and they say that, like, and a lot of them are like veterans from the 2008 downturn and recession and stuff like that. And they said it then and they say it now. Like sometimes these moments are they're opportunities in disguise a lot of times. And it seems like you've capitalized on that, my man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think something really funny in my life is every single time something bad really happens, something good always comes right after it. It's really interesting. I think it's like once you're pushed against the wall and you have to make something work,
right?
You end up innovating into something even better. More times than not, I've realized. And even with our name, like back in the day, before we started the company, the name used to be Bloom Wines.
Okay.
And it was a name I fell in love with. Our whole messaging is around like, living in the moment and truly, living for today, not tomorrow, not yesterday. Really, really encompassing like the be present moment. Right. So we thought, the name Bloom really made sense because you're kind of like blossoming. You're becoming your best self.
Right.
And 2-3 months before we were about to launch the company, we had like all the branding and everything done, but we haven't done production yet.
Right.
I was at a conference and I got an email on my phone with a cease and desist letter from this massive company, massive wine company. What was the name of this wine company? It was It was Bloom Wine.
Of course.
And I go, oh man. And I'm like, holy shit, like this is the business I'm about to launch, and I don't even have a name now. Like,
right.
A name is sometimes like the most important thing, but at the same time, it's not the most important thing.
Fair enough.
But it's something I really loved, and I was at this conference, and as soon as I got this email, I got like super tense, and I was definitely really flustered. So flustered to the point where there was this lady who came to me, and she's like, honey, this girl from the South,
right?
She's like, hey, like, what's wrong? You look really anxious. Like, what? Like, how can I help you? And I'm just like, I really said like, it's not your problem, nothing, it's all good. And she's like, no, please tell me. She was working her own booth. She had her own startup company.
Right.
And she's like, and I told her what was going on. I told her the situation. She's like, don't worry. I'm really good at this stuff. Give me 20 minutes and I'll come up with the best name for you. I'm like, what?
Wow.
And like, we kind of I kind of take a tour of the conference. I come back 25 minutes later,
right,
and I see her daughter, like with the biggest smiles, and I run up to them like, what's going on? And she's like, I got the name for you. And she's like, it's Besa. I'm like, Besa? She's like, Besa Mi Vino. I'm like, oh my God, that's an amazing name. It was really funny. It was really funny.
No, that's crazy. And it brings up something else, Mike, that we like to talk about often because, in the startup entrepreneur world, a lot of times we see it as a dog eat dog world where, I'm trying to crush everybody in my path and stuff like that. But a lot of times what people don't realize that entrepreneurs root for other entrepreneurs. And so that's a classic example of another startup founder probably understanding a little bit about what you're going through and just wanting to help, man. What are some of those entrepreneurs that you kind of like, not necessarily look up to, but more so get like, fodder to succeed or like get, inspired to kind of listen to when they talk about or they show what they're doing and stuff like that?
I mean, a lot of people go through my mind. It's really just fun that people were like super, because a lot of people today, it's hard to tell whether they're genuine or they're
That's
just,
fair.
they're just speaking because, they want to build their platform.
Right.
And, I know this might sound cliche, but I really do love listening to Gary Vaynerchuk. Like,
gotcha.
There's something about him where it's you listen and he's just talking about like passion and just, hustling, and more than that, just like being patient.
Right.
And I think that's like huge, where it's like, you're in this dog world and, all these startups are trying to like fight, each other, theoretically, we all want to be at the top, or in essence, like, we can all get there. We just have to be patient and work with each other. It doesn't have to be so combative and like,
right,
really fighting against each other. And I think that's what he says really well. It's just like, like, listen, you could be 25 years old right now and you could spend the next 10 years of your life doing nothing and you're still 35 years old. Like, just be patient and the time will come, right? Like, you just got to work hard at it. And I really do believe that. I think if you work at something hard enough, it will come true. You really have to be patient and you got to be passionate about what you do and not really look, the end goal shouldn't be, greed for money. It should just be your passion. And then, that's like the cherry on top that comes with it.
For sure.
Almost.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's really what I want to say.
Gotcha. No, them's is facts. Them's is big facts. And I definitely agree with you because a lot of times, along with that dog eat dog world, we all, a lot of times people feel like, oh, I gotta make profit right now. Otherwise, they may lose interest in it. Right. And that's why we see a lot of times people kind of flame out, if you will. But if you be patient, Startup Nation, just like Mike said, trust me, what you're looking for is definitely going to come to fruition. You just got to be patient. So I appreciate you sharing that, Mike.
Yeah, no, and it's really like building your own metrics of success. Like, what does success do? It's like, is it being happy? Is it, by this date, are you going to get this in funding? Like, I think today our whole, like, our generation thinks that like, hey, like if you raise X amount, you're a successful company. But like, I don't really, I don't necessarily, see that as a metric of, success. I think success is really building a brand that has, strong equity,
sure.
Building a loyal following, and not, continuously, fundraising, which for other people, it can get very intimidating when you do or don't do that. Right. Like, we all want to get that. We all want to have that exit. We all want to have that profitable business, but you just have to do it. We have to do what's best for your business, not what, you think is right or what's cool.
Right.
I think that's really like prevalent today, where it's like everyone has their side hustle. Everyone wants to start their own business, and they just want something cool. But that's not why you start a business. You start a business to to fix a problem.
Right. There it is. And I appreciate you sharing that. And Startup Nation, as you're, maybe quarantining or starting your business and you're being patient for things to come over, and maybe you want to have some wine, go to drinkbesa.com. We have a link there in the show notes for easy access if you listen to the replay on the podcast. So I want to ask you this, man, because when I go to your website, right, like one word comes out, fun. Right. I'm seeing like one dude, knocking one back on the beach. I'm seeing people just out having fun. It's like, it's so California. And I mean that in the absolute best way possible. Right. I'm seeing beaches. I'm seeing sunshine. Kind of talk about that brand story of Besa Mi Vino a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. So we are LA based, right? So I'm born and raised in LA. So I figured, we want to build this brand. We want to really build a strong brand in California because it's the perfect product for canned wine, right? There's the beaches, there's hiking, there's mountains, the sunny weather, like you can't beat it anywhere else. But really with the whole vibe with the brand was that we wanted to create a brand that connected with someone on an emotional level. And I don't know, I'm sure majority of the listeners who've gone to a wine shop have all had this pain point where you just walk into any grocery store or wine shop and you can't connect with the wine brand, right? Because they all look the same. They all have a family story. They all have call outs like a vintage and varietal. And personally, these are all terms that I don't know. And it's a very aggressive and overwhelming feeling when you walk into one of these wine shops because your end goal is to purchase something, but you don't know what to purchase. So you end up purchasing something because it's the price or because maybe someone referred it to you, but you're not purchasing it because like you're emotionally connecting with it. Right. So we want to really build a brand first approach to our wines where instead of focusing on these terms that we're not familiar with or parts of the winemaking process that we don't know, we want to focus with stuff that we do know, like sustainability and organic and building a wine that like you feel good when you drink, right? So that's why like our whole winery in Paso Robles, it's powered through our solar panels, right? So we barely use any energy. All the energy that we create is through our solar panels, which is just being regenerated into the winery. And then all our products are certified organic. So there's no pesticides, herbicides, any foreign chemicals. And these are things that like, every day people look for at their, local Whole Foods or, wherever, you want to buy products because, they're good for you and at an affordable price. And I think that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to build something that, because in the wine industry, there's no labeling, right? So you could pick up any wine and you don't know what's going into it. And we saw there was all these like unnatural products like egg whites, crustacean shells, fish bladder, like all in the winemaking process that we have no clue about.
Right.
And that's what makes wine, vegan versus non-vegan. And that's the whole story is really building that like brand that emotionally connects with us on a simpler term for our generation.
For sure. And, and I appreciate that, you know what I mean? And that's why I wanted to ask you about that brand story because, and you probably was being nice, but I'm just going to say it. A lot of times you go and purchase wine, man, like there's a little bit of pretentiousness.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I can hear you wanting to say it. I'll just say it for you, but there's a bit of pretentiousness in there. You know what I mean? And for me, that can be a little bit disinviting, you know what I mean? And so, and I think when I see your brand, it's inviting, it's fun, it's sun, it's beach, it's all this stuff that, just feels like, we want you to come join the party. We don't care what you look like, what you sound like, this, that, and the other. We just want you to come join the party. You know what I mean? And did I nail it? Is that what you're going for?
Yeah, man, 100%.
Gotcha. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say we're three cans to go a bottle, so it's like you drink one of these, and like before you know it, that 12.5% really kicks in quickly.
Right. So so I appreciate that story. I want to ask you this, man, because it sounds like when I hear vegan or an organic, and you talk about no herbicides and pesticides in the winemaking process, and using solar panels and stuff like that. It seems like that tells me that you care about other people and what they put in their body, man. But you also kind of care about the planet a little bit, man. Kind of tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, I feel like you kind of have to, as any brand, you have to have almost like a duty to move in the right direction. And for us, that's why it was really important for us to earn our sustainability certification. So, in the wine world, there is a lot of waste and there's a lot of, different farming techniques that are being used. And what I mean is that We use all different types of like waste management system and water management system to conserve the water. And that's what the sustainability seal is
Right.
just being able to move in a positive direction. Again, that's encompassing why our winery is powered through our solar panels, because I mean, for every brand today, like, you don't want to take 2 steps backwards. You want to take 2 steps forward and, hopefully inspire other brands to want to do the same thing. And I feel like we're one of the few brands that are really focusing on that, like, better for you and sustainability process in the wine world. So we're taking a really gated industry who in a very, just controlled by people who are a lot older than us and have been doing this for many generations, family generations of years. So we're I don't come from a wine background. I actually knew nothing about wine before starting Besa, but I knew what I liked, and I knew what sustainability is, and I never saw that in the industry of wine. So we wanted to create that, and it's something I try to implement in my everyday too, of different plastic waste and what I'm drinking and what I'm not drinking.
I hear that.
Wouldn't you say the same?
Absolutely, for sure. I always appreciate businesses that have a social element to it. You know what I mean? Because I think that's super important. I really think that's super important. So thank you for sharing that, man.
Yeah, I mean, you need it. I really think any business that's going to start, you got to have that. You got to have that better for you element that someone else doesn't have, or improve on it.
For sure. I want to ask you this, man. Kind of tell me about your team and the day-to-day operations a little bit, if you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, we run a really lean team.
Mm-hmm.
So I started this brand with my brother,
right,
Roddy, right. And we obviously we've been operating it for the last year and a half, and from our day one, I guess, like our first hire was someone who'd help us out with like our socials. So someone who does like our Facebook, Instagram, pretty much the brand identity of the brand, right? Mm-hmm. And we've been working for her since day one. She's been amazing. She's it's great because like you kind of want to surround yourself with people that you can work with, for as long as you can, right? Like there's nothing worse than having to find new employees or just a new group of people to really to familiarize your brand with again, when in reality there's if you work with the same people in the beginning because you trust them, then you could really just accelerate your brand because you're not worrying about the little things of like hiring and rehiring and turnover, because that gets really, really overwhelming and exhausting. So we've been using her for since day one. We have a graphic designer that we work with in-house.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it. We have a distributor who distributes our products. So they distribute our products across California. And then my brother and I pretty much wear all the other hats, right? So when it comes to, sales, marketing, and anything that has to do with getting the products on shelf is really what my day-to-day is like, right? So a lot of it is checking in with stores, checking in with new stores, getting the products to people, really getting the message and who we are to new customers and friends, just like what we're doing right now.
Right. Absolutely.
That's what we envision. We don't want to scale too quickly.
Of course.
We have a really strong formula that works, and we want to continuously grow that as much as we can, and be super focused in it. We're not the company that says, we want to be in 100 places at once. We're really just focused on like, finding an area or niche and just slamming it as hard as we can, mm-hmm. and seeing that, blossom in its own way, and then using that same case study and then replicating in different cities and states, for sure. Because we've already done it once and we know it'll work.
Absolutely. Let me ask you a quick follow up, man. Tell me a little bit about your brother. How has that relationship been? Have you seen, like, what's the difference between brother Roddy and partner Roddy, right? Because I imagine it can't be the same person.
Yeah.
Yes, I am poking a little bit. I'm poking a little bit, but go ahead, man. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's a great question. We've always worked together, and we have really such an interesting relationship where, we've obviously have been best friends and we've been brothers, our working relationship is really the same as our our brother relationship, where it's
Gotcha.
just like, that one moment, you'll get in an argument, and it could be a really bad one, but then like 30 minutes later, it's completely forgotten, right? And we will, and again, I will be very honest, we'll get in like really, really, really bad arguments, but like within minutes, or even like, you know, 30, 20 minutes, it'll just be completely forgotten, because, at the end of the day, he's my brother, and we've just gone through so much, and we don't dwell on the small things. And I think it's really nice to have a brother as your partner, because if he wasn't my brother, I think there would be a little bit more of an ego that would be in the equation, where with us, like, we understand each other so well, and we know we just want the best for our business and for ourselves, and our relationship is so strong that even these small arguments would never really get in the way. Versus if I had a partner that wasn't my brother, it could be, a small argument can turn into something really big, and really hold grudges for a long period of time, where that has never been the case for us, because we've just gone through so much together. That's right. And it's obviously not our first business that we started together. And so we really understand each other well. We know our boundaries, and we work off of them.
I heard that. It's funny you mentioned that, because we recently had a guest on the show, Mike Goldman. He's in the New Jersey, New York area. He's like a business coach up there, right? And one of the things he has the hardest time getting people to kind of do when he's coaching is to let stuff go. And you talked about how, like, you have, that relationship with your brother where you get into these heated arguments, right? But like at the end of the day, you know how to let stuff go. And that's probably a testament to the rapport that you've had with your brother over years and years of, obviously being on planet Earth together, right? But it seems like that has been an attribute, an asset, as opposed to a negative in your business. Because we hear a lot of times, man, where we have family businesses, man, where, man, those things can kind of fester and kind of doom the business, right? But it's great that you have that relationship with him, man. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you go through really, really lows, but then you go through really strong highs. So it's you get the best of both worlds, and we trust each other a lot. And I think the way to best work a family relationship is just, really holding yourself accountable to whatever you guys are assigned to, and making sure you guys don't step on each other's toes. Right. It's just, having your own, you guys have your own roles, and, and they don't collide. And if that does happen, then it's more, you got to be more collaborative than like, trying to make it an ego,
for sure.
Kind of like a debate. More of you want to stay away from the argument and make it more of like a debate, and make good ideas come from it.
Right. Because I think that's important. And I also think that, a little bit of friction is a good thing. You know what I mean? Obviously, you don't want to be fighting every day, right? Because that could be bad. But a little bit of friction can be a good thing in a business when it comes to partners and a team. So I appreciate you sharing all that, man, for sure.
Good ideas come from arguments sometimes,
That's true.
You never know.
That's very true. Just embrace the process, Startup Nation, for sure. Let me ask you this, man, because, wine is big business. Let's be honest. It's $1 billion business, right? Where do you see Besa Mi Vino in all of this? After we come out of COVID and it burns off and this, that, and the other, and you start to go back to, for the most part, business is normal and stuff like that. Where do you see the company going, say, 5 years, 10 years from now?
Yeah. Hopefully COVID is done way before that. But,
absolutely. Of course. Right.
It's, I think, we really look at things, it's always great to have a 5-10 year goal, but we try to take every day, step by step, right? Like we believe our company will be a massive company, but it's not something that we think is going to happen overnight, and nor do we want it to happen overnight.
Right.
We want to be able to scale with our company, and we see the growth of it. Since COVID, we just, business has been crazier than ever. And I think it's because, people are home, they want to drink, they have nothing else to do, and they're okay with trying new things. It's just, it spices things up, I guess. Well, and from that, we've just seen a lot of large sales because people are moving away from bottles. Right. And the reason so is because, and I'm talking about, restaurants who, they've seen that their customers don't want the cashier to be like touching the bottle, pouring it in a cup,
right,
and then giving it back to the customers. Like that whole process of like, someone behind the counter touching it like 3 or 4 times before it actually gets to the customer is something that we've seen a lot of our restaurants stay away from. But we've gotten, a handful of phone calls from large restaurant groups who have like 40, 50 restaurants, and they want to bring on our products because of that reason, but then also because it's extremely easy to transport, right? And now we're starting to see that wine online has become a lot bigger, and wine shipping is more prevalent than it was 4 months ago. Right. So we definitely see ourselves, a lot, in a much better position because of what's going on. And it's really because our products it's a grab and go. It's as convenient as wine can get, and it's portion controlled. So, I do see our company, 5-10 years from now being, 50x, and it's hard to say what it's going to be, but
of course,
we definitely want to, we always want to innovate, right? So the next, year or two, we might want to come out with a different varietal or a different variation. So we're really excited about, what we have. We just want to make sure we focus on our rosé and white, and then be able to bring out new SKUs that we get. We really will just listen to our customers and see what they want, and be able to hopefully produce it for them.
For sure. Thank you for sharing all of that, for sure. And Startup Nation, if you want to get a can of all day rosé, go to drinkbesa.com. We have a link there in the show notes for easy access if you listen to the replay on the podcast. So look, man, you're there in LA, let's say, 5-10 years, you 50x the company, it becomes this massive $1 billion company and stuff like that. And all of a sudden he's like, you know what? We should make a movie out of this. So let me ask you this, man. Who plays you and who plays your brother in a movie about the story of Besa Mi Vino?
Wow, that'd be a wild movie. I don't know where we would start with that.
I mean, you're there in LA. It's not far-fetched, right?
Yeah. That's a good question, honestly. I've never really thought of that.
Gotcha.
Who would play us in a movie? I mean, let's see. There's some amazing actors out there. I honestly, who would play my brother and I? Well, I mean, you got to give me some thought on that one.
All right,
it's a tough one.
Don't worry about it. I'm just kind of messing with you a little bit, for sure. Don't even worry about it. So when you ask you this, man, when you're not, scaling the company and keeping the doors open and stuff like that, what are you doing for fun out there in California? What are you doing for fun?
Yeah, I just picked up biking, actually.
Okay. How's that going?
It's amazing. Every Saturday, me and 3 of my friends go biking in the canyons. It's about like 50, 60 miles. And it's one of the best workouts I've ever had. Like it's something I picked up from my dad, and he's always encouraged me to do it. And I finally got myself to do it because everything is closed and I can't work out anywhere else. And it's one of those things where it's just like you do it for a good couple hours, and you come off the bike and you feel like a new person.
Gotcha. Thank you for sharing that. So let me ask you a quick follow-up, man. Tell me about your dad. How proud of you is he?
I come from a conservative Persian family, and
okay.
he's a minority himself, and
right.
He's gone through a lot of struggles, right? So,
gotcha.
Like any other dad, it's really hard for it. He's obviously super proud of me.
Of course.
But I think there's just so much more that we have to build that. He's always been super encouraging. He's been an amazing father, but I still think there's a lot my brother and I both have to not only prove to him but to ourselves that the potential we have.
Gotcha.
So he's been a great father figure so far. I can't complain.
I hear that. I appreciate you sharing that, for sure, man. So what's your entrepreneurial superpower and why?
I can read through bullshit really easily.
Fair
actually.
enough. All right.
Yeah.
You got a nice bullshit meter. Okay.
Yeah, and that's a big one. You got to have that, I feel like.
That's true.
There's so many people there. You got to read through who's telling you, what's right and what's wrong.
Right.
Right. People are always telling you stuff when you have a business. Oh, you need this, you need that. Eventually, you take everything, you go bankrupt really quickly.
Right. That's true. That's very true. Appreciate you sharing that. And before I ask the last question, man, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. Once again, Startup Nation, that website is drinkbesa.com. startuplife.com. We have a link there in the show notes for easy access if you're listening to the replay on the podcast, man. You gave us some amazing value about, how you growing your company with your brother and your team and stuff like that, and how you see yourself in the wine business moving forward. But man, I'm actually going to turn the microphone over to you, because there's somebody out there in Startup Nation that's feeling a little discouraged, especially with everything going on. Give them some words of encouragement and tell them it's okay to keep moving forward.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think, right now we're going through a crazy time with the whole, with everything, with quarantine. I think it's really, we're in an interesting spot where we should all be focusing on ourselves. Right. And trying to, grow as a person. Yeah, we're all in really uncomfortable times, but with every bad position, there's a good position. So I always say, just be patient, work really hard, and there's always a light at the end of the tunnel.
I hear that. And that's going to wrap up this session of The Startup Life. Big Mike, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate it.
I had a great time. Thanks for having me, brother.
No worries. And as always, Startup Nation, if you have an idea, be about that life. The Startup Life. If you want to let us know what you think about our show, have an idea for a show topic, or would like to advertise on our show, send us a message on the Startup Life Podcast Facebook page. And while you are there, like and follow our page as well. It's a great way for us to engage with you, Startup Nation, and really grow our community. The link is there in the show notes. Subscribe to the show, as it can be heard on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, or even on your Facebook timeline or any other platform you like to get your podcast. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts and you find our content valuable, please give us a 5-star rating, as it will help us climb the charts and help more people find our show. You can also listen to the show on the Startup Life Podcast new website. There you will find the all-new startup blog, where I write on many topics that are interesting and helpful to you on your path to entrepreneurship. And hey, if you have an idea, be about that life, the Startup Life. This fresh coat of the Startup Life has been sprayed on nice and smooth by Wagner and the Flexio Series of paint sprayers. Startup Nation, my wife decided she wanted to rehab her childhood home. The goal was to fix it up and invite a nice family to rent it out. We knew one of the biggest jobs we had to undertake was painting. However, from the walls, the cabinets, and even the siding outside, it was going to be a big task. As entrepreneurs with a company to run, we knew this was going to take up a lot of our time, which is why we decided to get a paint sprayer. And after much research, we decided to go with the sprayer from the Flexio Series from Wagner. Startup Nation, these sprayers are top-notch because of its flexibility to paint or stain walls, furniture, cabinets, and more. It's 10 times faster than using a paintbrush, which was a big selling point for us. And you can paint or stain right from the can. It's also easy to clean in 5 minutes, and being great for indoor and outdoor projects, a paint sprayer from the Flexio Series clearly needs to be part of the arsenal in your garage. So if you're ready to stain your deck, or like me, fill your daughter's request of a bubblegum pink room, up your game with a paint sprayer from the Flexio Series by Wagner. Take it from me, your time will thank you.